First story. I ended my friendship with my closest friend at my wife's request, and I deeply regret Tatitid. The author of the post is listed in the description. I'm generally a helpful person. I usually more than happy to help out a friend. I'll lend an ear to listen or offer advice, a shoulder to cry on. I'll help you move on or fix a problem. I never get the same attitude in return. I'm so sick of being there for people and then being tossed aside when they no longer want anything. I don't want to become a selfish person, but it's driving me insane being treated like this. In the past 2 weeks, I've been essentially used for advice, support by 6 people, and then they have all now completely abandoned me now that they are sorted. This is a pretty common theme in my life. I have my own shit going on, and I'd love it if at least one of my friends was willing to be there for me, but it's never the case. I just wish someone cared for me enough to at the very least reply to me. I'm not really sure what advice I'm looking for. I know I should be more discerning of people and be willing to say no every once in a while, but I don't want to seem like a dick. If anyone has any advice on how to be more capable of this, I'd really appreciate it. My wife and I are 25 and thinking about starting a family. I've known my best friend since we were teenagers. He grew up in the foster care system and in group homes. He had a really terrible time of it. When I met him, though, he didn't let any of that change him, though. He has always been such a loyal and caring guy. We became friends from the start, and we got along really well. When he turned 18, the foster parents that were looking after him kicked him out because they weren't going to receive benefits for looking after him anymore. I told my parents, and they let him live with us to finish school and afterwards so he could find a place to live and wouldn't have to go homeless. I met my now wife while I was in uni. When we started dating and met my friends, she always was a bit standoffish with him. He has always been kind to her and welcomed her wholeheartedly. When we got married, he was so excited. He did so much to help us with the wedding, helped organize everything pretty much, and even as an early wedding gift paid for some of it. A couple of months ago, my wife and I started talking about kids and decided to try. Last month, though, she told me she didn't want him around our kids because of his childhood. She didn't want our kids to hear about how he grew up because she thinks it'll make them sad and she wants them to not lose their innocence. He has never really been weird about his childhood. If someone asks him, he is honest, but he doesn't shove it down your throat or anything. I initially pushed back and refused to cut off my best friend for something he had no control over. She was adamant that he was not going to be around our kids. She kept saying that she would not let his life make them sad. He's done incredibly well for himself. He has a stable job, an apartment that is honestly nicer than ours, and is incredibly caring. She ended up giving me an ultimatum, him or her. She's my wife, and I panicked, so I chose her and told him I wouldn't be able to see him anymore, and once we had our first child, we would be done. He tried to reason with me and even offered to speak to my wife about it. She met with him, but afterwards said it was sad, but her mind was made up, so I did it. I fully cut him off. After I did, a lot of our friends did the same thing. They said they didn't want to cause any issues or start drama, so they also cut him off. I told them that there wouldn't be any drama, but they said what's done is done. My wife honestly seemed pleased that it had happened the way it did. I've reached out to him a couple times to see how he's doing and to make sure he's okay, but he hasn't replied once. 2 nights ago, I tried calling him, but he's blocked my number. He doesn't have social media, so I tried going to his place to talk to him, but he didn't answer. I know he was home because I heard the TV on. I asked my friends if they've heard from him, but he's blocked them as well. I don't know his Reddit username, but I can't think of anything else to do. I miss him. I guess I've realized I want him in my life. I want my future kids to know him. I want them to look up to him the same way I do. He's an incredible person. He's never let how he grew up stop him, always striving to be of service to those around him. I can't sleep, and I can't believe I did what I did. I spoke to my wife, and she said she has felt guilty for what has happened. I can't go to his work because he works for the government, and they'll never let me in the building to go to his office to talk to him. I need advice on how to make things right and see him again. My wife and I have decided we were wrong, and she has said she wants to apologize for this. How can I fix this Reddit? How can I get him to talk to me again? Please help. Also, Scott, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry. I know what I did was an awful thing to do. I hate how I acted. We all miss you, man. Please talk to me. I understand if you don't want to forgive me, but please let me know you're okay. If you don't want to be my friend anymore, I would understand. I just miss talking to you. I love you, bro. I've read every comment and I've tried to reply to as many as I can. I appreciate where everyone is coming from. I'm going to step away for a bit and write a letter for Scott, and my wife is going to do the same. I knew I would get a lot of hate, and I knew the same would be directed towards my wife. I guess my second intention for the post hasn't come to fruition. I haven't heard from S yet. I hope I do, though. I am grateful for your advice, even the mean comments. Thank you, relevant comments. Commenter, what about your wife? Is she willing to apologize and welcome him in your lives? OOP replied, she is. She agreed to writing a letter to him as well, apologizing for what she did and how she has treated him in the past. She feels awful. She admits his childhood made her uncomfortable. She has a happy family, so I think she feels guilty about that. She isn't a bad person, just misguided. Commenter, his childhood makes her uncomfortable? Are you joking? What happens if the kids you supposedly want have a friend in the system? Then cut them off, too. OOP replied, I think she feels guilty because she has a full happy family and they are pretty wealthy. She is just sheltered and didn't deal with a lot of turmoil growing up. I know hearing some of the stories of abuse from his childhood made her very uncomfortable. She never had to deal with adults hitting her or refusing to feed her. That was his childhood pretty much. She was worried he'd tell our future kids that, and they'd become sad and scared of life. On the friend group cutting contact, commenter, why did your friends go along with dropping him over this? That makes no sense. Y'all ostracized a guy for growing up in the system? Really? Is there more to the story you're not telling, or is the lot of you that ridiculous? For the love of God, don't subject this guy to any of you anymore. He doesn't need this crap in his life. Heck, if I were him and any of you showed up at my house or job, I'd have y'all trespassed. OOP replied, they didn't want to cause any issues. We're all friends, so they didn't want it to be difficult to see everyone or hang out. They didn't want to have a party and only invite either him or myself and my wife. So they chose to do the wrong thing, like myself. In their words, it just seemed like the better option. There isn't anything else other than misguided decision-making and poor judgment on our part. Commenter, is there some reason why they all instantly sided with you? Nobody sided with him at all? This makes zero sense. OOP replied, from what they've said, it seems they thought this was the easier option. I'm not at all happy about it, and I asked them to cut us out and not him, but it was too late, and he had already blocked them as well. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Background, I had what I thought was a solid friend group, but they have since decided to move away from me, figuratively speaking, because my ex-best mate's wife doesn't think I fit into the perfect life she is trying to create, and the rest are following because they don't want to cause drama. I have since tried to make new friends, but haven't had any luck. I met a chill bloke at my gym, and we have worked out together a couple of times. I asked him if he wanted to grab a beer, but he wasn't really interested. I'm not that interested in making real friends at work because my job is pretty stressful and I don't want to think about it outside of work hours. I get along with them all, but I'd rather have a proper break from that when I'm not working. I'd love any advice for how a guy in his mid-20s can make some friends without coming off as desperate or just bothering people. Update. I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to come back to Reddit after my last post, but I need somewhere to vent, so here seems as good a place as any. My last post received probably a well-deserved level of hate. I understand that I fucked up when I cut my friend off. I imagine anyone reading this only really cares about how he's doing, so I'll start with what little I know. We haven't spoken, really. He found my post and sent me a message telling me he didn't care if I was remorseful. He's done with me. He also told my parents what happened and the reasoning behind it. They were pissed, to put it lightly. They've been pretty open about how much they are disappointed in me, and how they are disgusted with my wife. He hasn't really spoken to them, other than to let them know what happened. My mom is heartbroken. She really loved him, and now he isn't really replying to her messages. The only other thing I've really heard is that he is speaking to his ex again. She cheated on him, and I know he's probably only speaking to her for some support. I guess I'm worried he'll give her another chance and she'll hurt him again. Other than that, I don't know anything. Lots of messages telling me to divorce my wife. Well, you might get what you want. Our relationship has taken a massive dive off a cliff, and I don't see a way to repair it. To those telling me that something must have happened between them, I can only say this. He's not that sort of person. He'd never betray someone like that. I don't know if I can say the same for my wife anymore, given how she's manipulated me into ditching my best mate. But I know he's not the sort of person to participate in that. It seems she just didn't like him and wanted him gone. She used the potential of us starting a family to make a move to remove him. So to recap, my parents hate me. My best friend won't talk to me. He's now talking to his ex who cheated on him and broke him last year. My marriage is probably broken beyond repair. I don't see any real way to fix things, but I guess I'm wondering if there is any possible way to fix things with him. If anyone has any advice, I'd appreciate it. I miss him more than anything. September 29th, 2022. Hey all! Firstly, I want to thank everyone for the incredible comments and messages I've received over the last couple of days. I know a bunch of people are here because of a certain someone's post. I appreciate all the incredible support I've gotten since then, whether by comment or chat request. You're all such kind people, it's truly brought a tear to my eye reading them all. I am going to try and get back to them all, but I've had a rough couple of days, as I'm sure you can imagine. Not just from reading that BS that he wrote, but work has also been pretty stressful lately on top of it, and I've struggled to keep up with all the notifications. Please just know you're all awesome. I'll try and make an effort to reply to everyone this weekend. Secondly, to answer some of the more common questions I've received lately. I have no intention of letting James or his friends back into my life. As my mantra goes, they made their decision, so I'm going to make mine. I'm moving on with my life, albeit alone, but that's life sometimes. Secondly, part 2, I'm not much of a gamer, but I am seriously considering getting more into it, and I'm so appreciative of all the comments and messages offering to squad up for some games. I'm not at that point just yet, but please know when I am. I have a lot of people who I owe a message about that, and I am going to try and at least get a game in with each of you if you'll let me. And finally, I know that while I may not have many real-life friends, I have what seems like an entire army worth of Reddit friends, which given my experience so far, I prefer wholeheartedly. You guys are truly the best. I'm not going to go on much more because I'm exhausted and have work early tomorrow, but once again, thank you all. Please stay safe and keep being the incredible, kind, heartwarming, empathetic people that you are. You are all truly legends, and I wish I could thank and hug each of you in person. You guys really made a dark time for me feel a little brighter. Final update. I guess I just want to clear the air here. I want everyone to know I've read all your messages and comments. I firstly appreciate everyone who has sent me a message or has commented. This has all become a little overwhelming. I now have 50+ chat requests, most of which offering support, and that's awesome. I guess I just want to put a lid on all of this because I have felt a bit like it's all a bit much right now. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad because I know 99% of you are just trying to be supportive, but it's gotten a little out of hand now. It's made me feel a little skeptical of whether or not messages are coming in truly for support, or just people looking for more drama. So I'm making this post to put an end to it all, for my own mental health. I've had a bunch of messages asking me to talk to James's parents. I for a while didn't reply to their messages or calls. I felt awkward because they're obviously his parents, and I'm the kid they let live with them. I have now, though, and I'm glad I did. It's definitely a more tepid relationship than before, but it's okay. James's mom has always been a big support person for myself, so it's good to talk to her again. She used to sit with me when I'd have nightmares and talk about them with me till I fell asleep again, so she'll always have a big place in my heart. I've been having them again more recently. I haven't had the heart to tell her yet. I'm just hoping they'll stop so I don't have to. I don't want her to worry. As for my ex, I don't want to get into that too much. We were talking for a bit, but that has stopped. I was lonely and felt vulnerable. I'm no longer talking to her, so no worry there. To the people telling me to forgive James for what he did, yeah, no fuck off. He's a grown-ass man. He made his decision. I don't care if he was manipulated by his wife. He chose to cut me off. He watched me beg him to change his mind, and he still decided to act like a cunt. With some hindsight, I've also noticed our relationship since high school has been very one-sided. I'm not looking to do that again. He can enjoy the bed he made. I really don't want to have to get into this again, so I'm asking that if James makes another BS post claiming his life is a mess, please don't bring it to me. I don't care what's going on in his life. I don't care if he gets divorced or has kids. He's on his own. It's about time he gets an understanding on how that feels. I am going to say this as well. I'm sorry, but I probably won't reply to everyone's messages or comments. It's hard enough keeping up with the people who have been messaging. I'm not going to add 50 plus other people to that stress. Please know I appreciate the messages, but I'm not some superhuman who can keep up with unlimited messages and people. I'm used to having 10 friends at most. This has all been a little overwhelming. I'm hoping I don't come off as a huge cunt in this post, but I'm also pretty skeptical that everyone who has messaged me actually cares. That's a foster kid's mindset for you, though. I'm not used to people actually caring, so that's that. Also, side note, I appreciate everyone who has asked me if I'd like to meet for a beer or whatever. That is truly kind of you, but I'm not in the habit of actually meeting people who reach out to me online. I can see you're coming from a place of love, but I'm also pretty attached to my kidneys and other non-vital organs, so I'd rather not risk it. I don't want to wake up in a bathtub full of ice, no offense, but I feel like I should err on the side of caution in this situation. Thank you all for being so kind. Please don't hate me for this post, just felt the need to get this one out. I've struggled with whether or not to make it for a bit. Once again, hopefully I don't come off looking like a cunt. Please take care and keep being kind people. I appreciate you guys. Edit. I've just noticed there is a decent amount of swearing in this. Apologies for that. I'm Aussie, and that word doesn't mean a great deal here. I know it can be a little jarring on the delicate ears of Yanks, so sorry about that. Edit 2. I'm not leaving Reddit or anything, I'm just over this shit with James. Had a couple of people ask me, just wanted to clear that up. Second story, aita for saying I would never have chosen my husband as the father of my child. I, 37F, and my husband Liam, 30M, have 2 children. I'm currently pregnant with our 3rd and last. Liam is a wonderful husband and a fantastic father. I was out at brunch with a few friends of mine. I was telling them a funny story about my cravings and how Liam had made a cake from scratch for it. A friend of a friend, Paige, said that I chose so well and that she should have put as much thought as I did in choosing him. I have a reputation for being really thorough and thinking things out before doing anything, the responsible one. I told her that I never would have chosen Liam to be the father of our first child, but I am so grateful he was. I was very lucky. Our pre-marriage life was messy. I was with another man, Dave. Dave was a steady, reliable man, and we had been together for years. Dave made a new friend who was Liam, and I could not help but absolutely hate him. According to him, Liam made Dave feel young again, and he was desperate to reclaim the sense of youth he lost by being responsible since he was young. He spent all of his time with Liam and other brothers. Dave would spend every night out partying until 2 or 3 a.m. He spent his entire paycheck and some of my paychecks on wrestling videos and online gambling. He bought a motorcycle. He used our savings to buy crypto. He shaved his head bald. The last straw was him spending $20,000 of my savings to travel. Throughout this, Liam was incredibly disrespectful to me. Dave broke up with me when I asked him to stop hanging out with Liam and his other friends. He immediately moved in with a girl I had concerns about. I felt deeply hurt, and for the first time in my life, I felt like hurting someone in return. I was miserable, out of my mind, and called Liam over. I wanted to ruin their friendship like he ruined my relationship. He was annoyed at Dave for something else and was down for anything. I woke up the next morning realizing that I made a huge mistake, but it was incredible. Unfortunately, my bad decision caught up to me and I got pregnant. Ironic since I had always wanted children, but I was told I was infertile. Both Liam and I were against children out of wedlock, and we had a small wedding. I was ready to grit my teeth and make the best of our marriage, but surprisingly, Liam turned out to be an incredible partner and father. If it was a mistake, it was the best mistake of my life. Paige was very offended that I said Liam wouldn't have been my choice initially. She said I was making myself superior. She said that she lost respect for me and would never talk to me again. She also messaged Liam to tell him what I said. Was what I said really that bad? Edit. I should probably be clearer, but I'm a lot more unfiltered on Reddit than here. I just said that while we knew each other before, Liam was basically a one-night thing, which is true. My other friends know the truth because a few of them were there when it all unfolded. Dave was furious at first, which is understandable, but we are cordial to each other. I did not get my money back, unfortunately. Update. I got a lot more attention on my post than I thought. Long story short, Paige apologized for overstepping, and we are all good now. Paige reached out to me. She was having a rough time in her own situationship, and felt I was being ungrateful. I accepted her apology. However, I don't expect us to have a close friendship in the future. I also checked up on Liam. As I've said before, I adore my husband and do not want to make him feel bad. I asked him if he felt hurt by what I said. He says yes, he was deeply offended, and I should make up for it with 1,000 kisses plus interest starting right now. The worst thing in my life right now is my baby kicking up into my ribs. I miss being able to breathe without a foot in my organs. Several people have questioned how I got the reputation of being thoughtful when I made really bad personal decisions. Honestly, I'm fiscally responsible, organized, and all around a prepared person. But I am dependent on having a stable, boring life, and was unequipped to have my personal life fall apart. If I think back to what I was like 10 years ago, I had a good amount of savings, a comfortable career, and close friends. I also had a fiancé who I had been with for years, and who had changed into a person I no longer recognized. Someone who lied to me, stole from me, and cheated on me. Liam actually was the one who called me after Dave broke up with me. He told me about how Dave had lied to him and used him in lies and was with the other woman. I was still in shock. He came over to give me some things that Dave had left at his apartment in case it was mine. Some of it was mine, some of it was Dave's trash. I sobbed and blamed him, and he took it and apologized. He kissed me. I said I wanted to ruin his life like he ruined mine. Liam saw Dave as his best friend. He also had trust issues, so lying is off the table. Their friendship was already ruined, but I didn't know that. I was not good at getting revenge, at least spontaneously. We didn't use protection. I'd been told I was infertile. My previous 2 partners, my old boyfriend and Dave, never got me pregnant after years. I was ignorant and wasn't told that infertile doesn't mean sterile. I still had a chance of getting pregnant. Having a child out of wedlock is very uncommon and looked down upon, even more than divorce. Because of that, shotgun weddings are actually pretty common. I was excited to be a mother, and Liam was, to my surprise, excited to be a father. We decided to put aside our old grievances, be friends, and raise our child happily. I can say that I stated falling in love with him through my pregnancy, but it was solidified after my birth. It was traumatic, and I tore badly. Liam was such an attentive husband and father. We fell together so nicely it was hard to notice when he became my soulmate. Part of the reason I hated Liam was that the way we expressed love was too similar. I need quality time and attention, and he needed quality time and affection. There's no limit to the amount of time we want to spend with loved ones. Dave was an introvert who valued time alone. When it was Dave in the middle, I felt as though Liam was stealing my limited time with him. Now it feels nice to have a partner that values and expresses the same kind of love. We are around each other constantly. Liam needs at least an uninterrupted hour a day and more on weekends of my attention solely on him. We could spend entire days just snuggling and kissing. We have an equal partnership. I do take on more of the mental load in terms of finances, investments, doctor's appointments, etc., but Liam acknowledges that and takes on more of the physical load. He insists that I do more while I think he does. I'm not saying either of us are perfect or that our relationship, but I am very happy with my lot in life. How do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.